first of all, I just want to thank Commissioner Tammy Wendt and her lovely staff for coming here and doing this presentation. I want to thank the Berwyn Police Department for letting us use the room. Commissioner Frank Aguilar, thank you for coming as well. So just want to, like I said, introduce myself. I was newly elected in this year, and I have been a longtime resident for 10 years. And the reason that someone's like, "Why did you run?" The reason that I ran is that, like myself, I've been a resident, and when I first got my first tax bill, I almost flipped out of my chair. So I started learning how to navigate the process. I know for some residents it's very difficult. So that's what I'm here for. So please stay for the presentation. I have my business cards. I'm always accessible via email. You can always call my office and make an appointment. My staff, English and Spanish. So thank you for coming again. And if you have any questions, me and my staff will be in the back if you have any questions after the presentation. So now in Spanish. Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Jacqueline Pereda, soy la asesora de Berwyn. Les quiero dar las gracias por venir a esta presentación. Les quiero decir a la gente aquí que Berwyn todavía no está abierto para las apelaciones con Board of Review. So, como dije previamente, unas residentes que si pueden dejar su correo electrónico para que yo en el futuro les mande la notificación cuando Berwyn abra y otras notificaciones importantes que yo voy a mandar en el futuro. So, la razón de esa presentación es cómo poder hacer la apelación con Board of Review. So, ahorita van a dar la presentación. Si ustedes tienen preguntas, voy a estar atrás para si quieren hacerme preguntas y les puedo dar más información. Muchas gracias.
Thank you, Jacqueline. My cousin Jacqueline Pereda and Tammy Wendt and her staff, they really take this thing seriously, making sure that you get your appeal, your taxes. I'm newly appointed too in the last year and a half, but Jacqueline, thank you for doing it, taking the bull by the horns with Tammy to making sure the residents are taken care of. Y ahora sí, las gracias a Jackie y a Tammy Wendt y su staff por estar aquí atendiendo a la gente y tomar muy serio para que puedan apelar sus impuestos. Es muy importante por los servicios y pues aquí está Jackie para que les ayude y aquí está Tammy. Thank you very much for doing this. All right? Gracias. A round of applause to the Assessor and Board Commissioner.
Again, thank you to the Assessor and thank you to Commissioner Aguilar. Okay, so what is the Board of Review? Board of Review is gives you the ability to appeal your taxes if you don't like what the assessor says for your valuation on your property. That's the bottom line. So think of the assessor, they do what's called mass appraisal, and they'll go out, they'll do the whole county, or they'll do a tri of the county, in this case it's Chicago. And then if you don't like what they say, you come to the Board of Review. So the assessor determines your assessed value, which is then used to determine your tax bill from the taxing bodies that levy in your district. If you appeal to the Board of Review, we can reduce your assessed value. But you have to be proactive to do it. We can't just take jurisdiction of your property and do an appeal for you. You need to let us know. You know your property better than anybody else. Better than the assessor, most of the time better than the Board of Review. So if you see something off with your assessed value or your fair market value, you need to let us know, and then we'll take a look at it. Misconception is you don't need to hire an attorney for residential property. If you own it, it's not in an LLC or a trust or a corporation or anything, you can file the appeal yourself. You do not need an attorney. You do not need to pay an attorney. You do not need to pay a consultant. Sometimes it seems daunting, but that's what we're here for. We're paid by your tax dollars, so make us work for you. That's what we're here for. So I'm just going to pause every time I go to one of the Spanish slides so you can read it. And if you need me to go back, just don't hesitate to yell out. So what are the potential benefits of filing an appeal? Obviously, the main benefit you want is you're trying to reduce your assessed value. But don't confuse a lower assessed value necessarily with a lower tax bill. doesn't always work that way. It has a high correlation to that, but you can't, if your assessed value only goes down a little bit because of an appeal, but your taxing bodies still require more money for the budgets, your tax bill may not go down. You have an opportunity for multi-year savings. Berwyn is in the South Tri, so it was reassessed in 2020. If you file in 2020, that appeal would last 3 years. Again, there's no fee to file ever with us. Again, you've already paid for this service, and we will not increase your assessment. And one of the worries is, I don't want the Board of Review looking at my house because I think it's worth this. Well, first of all, you should be appealing it if you think your house is worth more than the assessed value or fair market value anyways. But that's not why you would file. You usually file appeal because you think you're overassessed. If we go and look at your property and we think that, in fact, we think you're underassessed, we will not increase it. So there is no fear there. So what is a triennial reassessment? So Cook County is so big, it would be too big of a job for the assessor to do the whole county every year. So we do it every 3 years, or the assessor reassesses every 3 years. This year is the Chicago reassessment, which is the largest part of Cook County, has the most properties. You may have heard of some of the difficulties with this year. It has to do with just the sheer size of the county, of Chicago. The assessor uses, I touched on it earlier, they use a mass appraisal system. So they use sales ratio studies and data to go and assess large pieces of geography for residential properties, for commercial properties, for industrial properties. And that could lead to some issues, as you can imagine. But what the Board of Review can do, based on you filing an appeal, is we can take a microscopic look at your property. And if you, this is mostly a residential event tonight, but if you file an appeal with us, we'll look at your neighborhood, at comps that are close to your house in size and shape and build and same neighborhood, same amount of bedrooms and things like that. So we'll take that closer look where the assessor doesn't have the ability. Just imagine they have 1.9 million properties that they send assessments out every year, or a third of that they reassess. And last year we had 253,000 appeals filed at the Board of Review. So 253,000 versus, almost 2 million. So we get the luxury of taking a better look. So here's the reassessment calendar. So the City of Chicago, 2021, this is going on right now. Those are the townships in the city. Most people don't realize the city's still broken up in townships. South Suburban, where Berwyn is, we did it in 2020. We'll do it again in 2023. So for residential property, when you get a reduction, and that reduction will carry over for that assessment period. So if you did it this year, if you do it in 2021 and you get a reduction, you'll have it automatically next year. That will be a reassessment period. We'll start the program over again. If you have a property in Chicago and you file this year and you get a reduction, that reduction will carry over for 3 years. Now, not to say you can't file an appeal every year. Markets change. So if you file this year and you get a reduction, you can file again the following year if something in the neighborhood happened. If a property was sold, if houses around you sell and it looks like it's affecting your value, you can go ahead and file again. It just won't, if you don't file an appeal, it'll carry over from the previous years. But we recommend everybody files every year. So the grounds for appeal, and this is where it goes into the point where you know your property better than anybody. So if you get an assessed value, or you get a reassessment notice, or you get your tax bill, and it gives you your fair market value, and you think that that's wrong, let us know. You know the property, you know the neighborhood better. So that would be uniformity. Is your property assessed higher than your neighbors in the area in your neighborhood? A recent purchase. So if you purchased your home in the last 3 years and the assessment is higher than you paid for it, we would like that information, your closing statements, and we'll take a look at that and likely grant you your sales price, as long as it's an arm's length sale. If there's a factual error, this comes into play when there's square footage issues that are incorrect. The data that we've relied upon and the assessors relied upon for all these years is sometimes antiquated. So if you see square footage issues with your property, let us know. And then vacancy. So this would be something that would, out of your control, an act of God, fire, flood, just unforeseeable circumstances, tornadoes. If you can't live in your house, we can grant vacancy for the period that you have to live somewhere else. So you don't have to pay property tax if you can't live there. Now again, you can't just say, well, I want to, remodel my house, I'm going to tear the studs out and make a great room. It's not going to work. It has to be an act of God or an unforeseeable circumstance. I'll leave this one up for a couple seconds here. So what to include to support your residential appeal? You really don't have to include anything. If you think your house is overassessed, you simply say, my house is overassessed. We'll do the work. We'll find the comparables. If you want to find comparables, the best place to go is probably to the assessor's office, your assessor, Assessor Pareto. She can help find comparables. She can help fill out the forms. It's a great resource. It's your local resource. She knows the neighborhoods. For comparable sales, if you live on a block and 3 houses sold, or you live in a 3-block area, a bunch of houses sold, and you think that your house is like those houses, we'd like to know that. We don't always see the comparable sales. And again, vacancies, we don't grant it easily. It has to be proven, because otherwise everyone would say that it was vacant. We need fire reports, police reports, dated pictures. And dated pictures are simply, you took a picture before, you took a picture after, just write the date on it. That date, handwritten date, is considered a dated photo. Since uniformity is the main argument for filing an appeal, the effort of going through and finding comparables is what turns a lot of people off of filing appeals. And that's why I'm here to tell you, you do not need to do that step. We can do that step for you. We have access to every property in Cook County. We know every property in your neighborhood. We get all the data from the assessor. So we can go and look at comps, at the comparables for you. So if that was what was holding you up in the past from filing an appeal, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. So one of the advantages of the Board of Review has created is a web portal where you can file an appeal. Now, we handed everyone today a paper complaint form. We still take paper complaint forms. And everyone that fills one of those out and hands it in, we'll file that appeal for you. But you actually have the ability to do that yourself as well. So if you went to the Board of Review website, cookcountyboardofreview.com, and up in the upper right-hand corner, you have the button Submit Appeal. If you click on that, I did not design this website. It's not the best website. A few things I would change, but it is what we have to work with right now. An update is in the works. So a couple advantages of registering with the Board of Review. The dates are fluid at the Board of Review for filing appeals. They come upon us pretty quick. There's tight windows to do things, to file appeals. So if you register, we will send notifications out to you when your township's open, when your townships are closing, when decisions have been made, and you can go back in and look at your account, and you can see a complete history of every appeal you filed that you filed as a registered user. It won't go back to paper files from the past. But once you start, you'll have access to that information in the future. You can register anytime. You don't have to wait for your township to open. You can also pre-file. So what pre-file allows you to do is, right now, since Berwyn isn't open with the Board of Review, you can pre-file your property tax appeal. And once Berwyn opens, we'll release all those Berwyn Township queued appeals, and we'll release them into the system to be analyzed by the analysts. So you don't have to be worried about that 30-day period, and am I going to get it in time, when's it going to open? And you can also call the register. We have a help desk that can call to help you register if you're not computer savvy or you don't have access to a computer at the time. We can take it over the phone. We also, for people that are okay with texting, if you text BOR to 74121, we'll also send you updates as townships open. So to register, after you hit the Submit Appeal button, you go to, this screen will pop up and you get here to log in or register. If by chance you had registered in the past, or logged in, or created a registration in the past, and you don't remember your username or password, we have a number you can call. We don't have an automatic password regenerator. So if you, for new users, you click on the new user, it's going to ask you for your username and password. You're going to enter your name, your email, your address, and it will confirm your address. And then there's a question on there. If you're an attorney, you would just obviously click you're not an attorney. Password recovery is right there. It's basically the same number it's the published number for the board of review, so you can always call get the main desk. If you do have a username and password, put it in there. So after you log in, you could check your status of your appeal. If by chance you're a little anxious and you didn't get an email yet, you can check it. Nothing's going to be there, but you can get in there. If you want to, this is where you'd submit appeal. Like right now, if you want to pre-register, you'd hit submit appeal. You can do this tonight. If you didn't want to fill out the paper form, you can do this tonight. So once you hit submit appeal, you're going to come to the screen, and the first red arrow has a drop-down menu, and I don't know why it's a drop-down menu because the only option is properties over assessed. So you click property over assessed. The next line is your property index number, your PIN number, which you can find on your tax bills. And then the check the box no that you're not an attorney, and then check the box that you're not a robot. So the following, this screen will pop up next, and a lot of people will start putting their comparables here. This is only if your property has 2 pins. Some properties have 2 pins. It's kind of rare. Most houses in neighborhoods are going to have a single pin. So you would not put anything in this. You'd hit submit. So again, do not list comparable properties here, or put the PIN of your property here. And if you see the little, see, I think I have a little pointer right here. Township is in pre-registration. So right now, if you went in there and your PIN would tell us it's Berwyn Township, this little message would come up. It's in pre-registration. So the next screen is just where you confirm everything. You're going to put your name, your address in again. You're going to put your phone number, your email address twice, and hit done. And you're appealed. You're in the system as a pre-file currently. So this is a copy of your tax bill. This is the second installment tax bill. You can tell because it has the exemptions on it. The first tax bill is just 55% of the prior year. So the second tax bill is what has more detail. So if you have exemptions, they're right here. Exemptions is part of the assessor's office. I'll talk about that in a second. Your PIN is up on the top. And then your property class. So most of the property classes as houses are going to be class 2s. Commercials go into 3s and 5s. So these are all the taxing bodies that are in your taxing district, and this is what determines the taxes that you owe. Not the assessor, not the board of review, the taxing bodies. These are the monies they need to operate. If you did want to start looking for comparable properties, if that's the kind of stuff excites you, the assessor has a really good program. It's a product of the county. It's cookcountyviewer.com. You can use that site to go and look for comparables, kind of look around the neighborhood on an aerial view. It'll have all the PIN numbers of the neighborhood. It's kind of a cool program. But again, you don't have to find comparables. Use the assessor to do that if you want. On the assessor's website, they also have a link to it, find comparable properties. If you did want to print out more appeal forms, if you leave here tonight and you have a friend who wants to appeal or a family member who wants to appeal and you want to print out a paper form, you can go ahead to our website again, cookcountyboardofreview.com, go to our forms, and you can print out a paper form and you can mail it in. That's an option if you don't want to, if someone doesn't want to do it electronically. I would impress on people to try to do it electronically because you do get all the information. You get the updates emailed to you. We don't sell your information to anybody. It doesn't go anywhere else. You guys, everyone should be familiar with this form. It should be in front of everyone today. The only caveat I would say is this section over here is, again, if you have multiple PIN properties, so do not put comparables over here. We see it a lot. It's not a big deal. It won't make us throw your appeal out, but it's just for clarity. And very important, make sure you sign your appeal form tonight if you're gonna leave it with us. Okay? We keep both copies. The white copy goes in and gets scanned, and they keep that in the main records. The yellow copy comes back to our staff, and we're going to monitor that as well on our staff. So again, just make sure it's signed. Condominiums and townhouses are a little different type of analysis. So we do have a condo analyst here tonight. If you have questions specific to condos, we can help you out. I'm not going to spend a lot of time on it. It takes into account percentage of interest and sales that have happened in the condo complex. And townhouses. So some of the guidelines to file an appeal. Individual taxpayers can represent themselves before the Board of Review. You're entitled to a hearing if you want. If you have something unique about your house that you want to let the analyst know, by all means, schedule a hearing. They're pretty painless. I would recommend it if you have something that you really want to talk about with an analyst. Again, we are date and deadline driven, so make sure that you are paying attention to the timeline, the opening and the closings of your townships. We don't know when Berwyn's going to open yet. We're waiting on the assessor to give us the data. If you don't ask for a hearing at the time that you file the appeal, you can always call and request one later. If you think something is changing or you remember something and you did not ask for an appeal or for a hearing, feel free to call. We can set you up on a hearing as long as we haven't finalized your township. And we take about, I think, 8 to 16 weeks once we close a township. You should get a result in 8 to 16 weeks. So it just depends on where you fall in the queue. So how do we reach our decisions? So we'll get an appeal. I'll just walk you through it a little bit. So you'll file an appeal tonight. once the township opens, the appeals are randomized between the 3 commissioner staffs. So even though Berwyn is in Commissioner Wendt's district, technically, it doesn't mean that our staff will look at your appeal first. It gets randomized. And that's better for everybody. Once that first analyst looks at your appeal, they'll make a decision whether they're going to reduce the assessed value or issue a no change on it. It will then go to a second commissioner in a rotation. They'll make a decision on that. If they agree with the first analyst, that's a majority decision. So if 2 of the 3 commissioners agree, that's the decision on your appeal. If the second analyst doesn't agree and goes to the third analyst, we call that a jump ball. They're going to have to decide if they like the first analyst's appeal, the second analyst's appeal, or they think both those people are crazy and they have their own decision. Then they'll get together and they'll have to figure out why. And that's a discussion that happens on the floor, basically. When those 3 decisions show up, that's when you find who the really good analysts are. So some of the most common errors. Well, I said one of them, not signing your paper form. That's a common error that happens. Incomplete mailing address, bad pins. If you file multiple appeals on the same property, sometimes it confuses us. In a situation like that, say you got one of those Turk postcards in the mail and you send it in, and then you realize that filing an appeal is easy, and then so you file another appeal on yourself. We just have to clarify where the appeal's coming from. We're always going to weigh on to the property owner, so they get the ultimate decision. So even if you hired an attorney and we still haven't issued a decision, and you don't want them to represent you anymore, if you file an appeal, we're going to take your appeal first. But there's a little process to go through, and it just causes sometimes a delay. You also have the ability to file an appeal at the assessor. This would happen prior to the board of review. So if you get the assessor is only going to send out a notice if they reassess. So if there's an increase in your assessed value, that's the only reason an assessor is going to send out a letter. Because you're in the South Tri, you really shouldn't have had any reassessment letters unless there was a mistake made or a sale or some other odd event that would have caused the reassessment. But you have every right to file at the assessor every year, just like the board of review. They have dates and deadlines as well. You don't have to file at the assessor to file at the board of review. Totally separate. If you file, you can go to the cookcountyassessor.com and they'll walk you through their filing process. It's basically the same as ours. There's an electronic version or a web version, online appeal form, or you can do paper. They still take paper. And then, based on if you file at the assessor and you get a response, you can make your decision whether you want to file at the board of review at that time. But you don't have to file at the assessor. The success rate of filing at the assessor is probably close to 5%. They're really hesitant to give reductions unless there's factual errors or vacancies. And just think of the concept behind that, because the assessor is putting that assessed value out. If you appeal with them and they reduce it, they're admitting they were wrong. So it doesn't happen as often. Of course, they're not always right. So if there's errors, by all means do it. Where we are the appellant. We're like the appellate court of the assessor, so we give you that chance to file again. If anyone is interested in filing at Property Tax Appeal Board, it's effectively known as PTAB, you have to file at the Board of Review to go to PTAB. It's a whole other agency, it's a whole other set of facts and events that have to happen. I can talk to you about that if you are interested in PTAB. So the assessor is the one who issues the exemptions. So on that second tax bill, when you get your exemptions, your homeowner exemption and your senior exemption or your senior freeze exemption, that's all done at the assessor. So we don't, the Board of Review doesn't have purview over that or jurisdiction over any of the exemptions. So if there's exemption errors, those have to be taken up with the assessor. The assessor does have satellite offices, so it does make it a little more convenient. You don't have to go downtown. Board of Review, unfortunately, I think 4 or 5 years ago, they closed all the satellite offices due to budgets. So we only have an office downtown. Again, you can call the number. I'll have it up here again one more time. Call the number or come down to the office. So just last thing I want to leave you with, and then we'll go to a Q&A session here. So once your township opens, you have 30 days to file the appeal. That's 30 days, it's 30 calendar days. So it's weekends, it's everything, 30 calendar days. And we're open in some towns right now, and you can imagine that it encompasses Christmas and New Year's. So it's 30 calendar days no matter what. The appeal process at the Board of Review is 8 to 16 weeks. If you aren't registered, you'll get an email notification of your decision, and we don't email your decision. You'd have to log in and register, or log into your account to see what your decision was. Any reductions that you receive in the assessed value from our agency will be reflected in your second installment tax bill next year. Probably due in December, we hope. Again, we will not increase your assessment. This is not practice at the Board of Review to increase your assessment. So the downside is very limited. Upside is it's free. It's relatively easy to do. So a lot of upside to it, and you could have multi-year savings. So this is some of the contact information. If you want to take a picture or screenshot or something, it's fine. It's that number, 312-603-5542. That's the main number. It's password reset. It's registration help. It's everything. It's the front desk. They'll get you the right people. Some of our other communication methods, YouTube. This video is likely going to be on YouTube. If you want to check it out again, take it at your own pace. It'll be out there at some point. And again, if you want to text BOR to 74121, we'll send you updates. Now the paper forms that you're filling out tonight, we're gonna, like I said, the white ones are gonna go and get scanned, and they're gonna go. They're gonna be kept in our archives. The yellow ones will come back to our staff. We're gonna send letters out to let you know that it was filed. And then when a decision is made, there will automatically be letters mailed out either way, whether it's a no change or a change. There will be language in there as far as your next step. If you want to take it to Property Tax Appeal Board, again, it's a very limited window, and it's a little harder place to file an appeal, less success rate, but it's an option, and it's your right. So that'll be it tonight for the presentation. You can hit the lights. We're gonna stick around here. We have, I don't know, eight analysts here who will help you with any questions. You can come up to me, ask me any questions you want. I really appreciate you all coming out tonight. And again, we work for you. We're your servants, your civil servants. So give us some questions.